Hola, mis reinas y mis reyes. Welcome to episode 2 of Reinas Be Heard. First, to start off, I just want to say thank you guys for tuning in. I know it's been a long time. Miss MIA is back. I was wondering and I was curious. I was like, when was the last time that I recorded a podcast? And I was like, oh my God, it was November of 2022. And I was listening back on it and it was talking about how I was told by my husband, like, you never commit to anything. You never, you say you're going to do something and then you don't do it. And I was like, no, I'm going to prove you wrong. Well, here I am proving him wrong because this is episode 2. Although it did take a while, we're here. We're doing it. Reason why I'm also doing it is because I did have a lot of people reaching out, and I appreciate for those that reached out and were letting me know, like, hey, when are you going to continue with episode 2? And, honestly, for me, that makes me feel so good. I'm going to hype myself up a little bit because I talk a lot. I honestly, a lot of family members have told me, my sisters have expressed to me that I talk a lot. And I'm always like, feel bad that I talk. It's honestly like an insecurity that I talk so much. Even at work, like some of the patients that I work with, they're like, damn, this girl talks a lot. But honestly, to even hear and see that you guys reach out and are like, we want to hear more. I'm like, you know what? Thank you. That's like so sweet. Right now, I'm on my lunch break, and honestly, you guys, life has been hectic. My beautiful daughter, Ileana, she takes up all of my time, and if it's not her, it's my work schedule, which if you don't know, I do work in oral surgery, and for people that think that we just sit on our butts and do nothing, you're wrong. Because we honestly work a really, really hectic schedule, and although it is an easy job, thank God for the job that was provided, it's also pretty hectic, like any other job that's out there, very hectic. So shout out to the moms that are holding it down with their kids and, you know, taking care of business both at home and at work. We see you, I see you, I'm one of you, and rooting for you because that's all we really can do. I also just wanted to reach out through the podcast just to also say just a few words in regards to a certain topic that has been on my heart very, very for such a long time. I feel like honestly that's probably why it took such a long time to take this episode out. The topic of today's episode is self-love. And although, a lot of people may say like, oh, self-love is just something that's recently came out. I honestly think it's just recently came out because a lot of people are finding who they are. We live in a generation today where it's, okay to express who you are. And I love that. Honestly, like a lot of the things that we struggle with mental health and you know the struggles with mental health has a lot to do with self-love. And although a lot of people may not believe in that, I honestly do believe in that. I may not have a degree in psychology or anything, but I can honestly tell you 110% that there's people out there that say that mental health is very important. And I'm not going to speak on anything that I don't know about or anything that I haven't gone through. And so I'm definitely someone that has struggled with self-love itself. So before we dive into the episode, I do want to just give a shout out to Anchor, which is now a Spotify podcast. As you can see, there's been lots of changes since I've recorded the last episode. But Spotify podcast is actually an outlet for whoever wants to start a podcast on their own. I'm one of the people that don't really like to put my face out there for the same reason of the topic that we're talking about today. But um, I don't know. I just feel like podcasters are more for my listeners than my viewers. And so if you're one of the ones that likes to just, speak on your own, if you like to talk to yourself, um, if you want to start a podcast and you're like, well, I don't have the things to get started. Well, Anchor is a great outlet and a great platform to even start it. Get yourself out there, get yourself known. This is your sign to start your podcast. I think I mentioned that on the last episode. And if I didn't, I'm mentioning it today. But yeah, definitely shout out to them because it's a great platform. You can record from your phone, straight from your laptop. You don't need a special mic. Right now, I'm just using my phone on my lunch break. And yeah, we need to get these episodes rolling and moving. So, definitely, if you're interested in starting your own podcast, I do recommend the Spotify for Podcasters app. And so, moving in quickly into the first topic, the topic of self-love. So, basically, what I wanted to talk about is, do we really love ourselves? Like, I want you to really think about that. Maybe you're driving, maybe you're in the gym, killing it, reading a book, listening to this in your quiet time, or going through a special moment in life. And it's only special because it's happening to you. If you're in a depressive state, that's the question I want to ask you. Do you really love yourself? So, like I said, I'm not going to talk about anything that I've never spoken on or have never gone through. When I asked myself this question, my answer for myself was no. And the reason why I say no is because in this day and age that we live in, obviously, our generation has tapped into the world of social media so quick. Like, the first platform that I've ever had socially, I think it was MySpace. And even with MySpace, it had like a certain criteria, a certain agenda, a certain algorithm that made you feel less than. And how so? The amount of friends that you had on your MySpace, the amount of, your top 5, your top 8, your top 1. If you weren't on that, then you were feeling like you weren't special, that you weren't important to anybody else. And I really feel like that's what started it all for me, because growing up I had a wonderful family, I had a loving family. I'm a very family oriented person, and growing up as a lady in the family, we go and we tell our daughters, our nieces, our cousins, we live on outer appearance, right? And if you weren't a certain weight, if you didn't look a certain way, if you didn't act a certain way, then you were obviously put in a box and you were categorized as either pretty, ugly, or they were given nicknames that shouldn't have been given. And so growing up, it was different because, for me, I don't consider myself someone who is beautiful, gorgeous, as compared to the next person. But growing up, they were like, "Oh, Mija, you're so beautiful. You have this curly hair. Your heart, you're this, you're that." And, growing up, you hear that surrounding you 24/7. You're like, "Well, yeah, I do look good." So come going to school, hitting middle school when everybody's trying to find themselves, you're told, "Yeah, you're super beautiful. All the boys are going to want you. Oh my God, he wants to be," growing up. And then you go to school and you're like, nadie me pela. Honestly, in middle school, my mom would always tell me, focus on your grades, focus on, yourself academically. And although I was doing that, I'm a kid. I'm a teenager trying to find myself, and I like boys. Why don't they like me back? And so it was kind of a tough transition, you know. For those that don't know, my husband now is my only everything. He's my first boyfriend, my first, sexually. And like I said, here on Reinas Be Heard, we talk about it all. So we point it blank and we say it, no taboo topics, nothing. And so yeah, it was tough. I mean, I had like, those boyfriends like, "Oh, you want to be my boyfriend? You want to be my girlfriend?" Yeah, of course. But it was just like we'd see each other at school and that was it. Like, it wasn't anything normal. I mean, I shouldn't say normal. It wasn't anything extraordinary, I should say. That's the correct word. And so I grew up with the idea that if you looked a certain way, if you act a certain way, then you're loved, you're going to be liked. And that was really embedded to me, that it's a lot of childhood trauma that I deal with. And so when I asked myself this question, like, hey, Jasenia, do you really love yourself? I took it back to the weight. I'm not the skinniest person. I'm not the lightest person in the bunch. I do have a big build, for those that want to know. And it's not something easy to deal with. And honestly, when it came to finding out about self-love, I realized that there's many different forms of loving yourself. It doesn't just have to be the exterior, the physical. There's the mental, there's social, and there's the spiritual. And so I know that it's a new year. We have the whole new year, new me mentality. Although it is March, we still have that. It's still the beginning of the month, and you have 365 days in the year to do something for yourself. And that's a form of self-love. Is what what makes you happy? What is it that, ticks you off? What is it that, like, tap into yourself to figure out what makes you you, you know? And sorry guys, I had some technical difficulties. It might sound a little bit better. Shout out to Ramsey from Shade of Brown podcast. If you haven't checked them out, make sure that you do. You can follow them on Instagram, also Spotify, anywhere you listen to your podcast, YouTube. You can see their faces on there. He went ahead and he reached out to me and he gave me some advice, so I appreciate that. Hopefully it sounds a little bit better. So if you heard the horrible quality in the beginning before I started recording again, shout out to him, because he did give that little piece of advice. But going back into the topic of the self-love, I was mentioning on how you have to figure out what makes you you. And you're probably like, well, that's easy to say, Jasenia, because it's just easier said than done. And it is easier said than done, but in order for you to actually get to know yourself, you have to spend time with yourself. I know some of us may not be used to spending time with themselves, but it's okay to be alone. Like, it's okay whether you just broke up with a boyfriend, whether you just divorced your spouse, whatever it may be your situation, whether you've been single for so long, that's like perfect time for you to figure yourself out. And like I said, in order for me to speak on it, I have to go through it. And so just recently I started tapping in to the whole figuring myself out. When I got in a relationship with my husband, as boyfriend and girlfriend, like I said, he was my first everything. He was my everything at the time. And I didn't know how to love him because I didn't love myself first. I didn't know how to be a good girlfriend. I didn't know how to be a good person because I didn't love myself. And so that did affect my relationship. That did affect some of the outcomes that happened that maybe later on in the podcast we'll be able to talk about. But I'm just here to express that it is normal what you're going through. It is normal that you're trying to figure yourself out. Sorry guys, trying to figure yourself out and trying to find who it is that you are. But at the same time, it is going to be hard. It is going to be difficult, but at the same time, it's possible. Just as long as you're living on this earth, if you still have time, it's possible to figure yourself out. As well as, I understand there's people that go through sicknesses, they go through illnesses. Time on earth is so precious that whenever I see someone going through something, I see them and they're like, life is a gift. Life is not a guarantee. And they're just so positive. They're just so, able to, although they're going through something way worse than friggin' a confidence issue, they have a smile on their face and they're just like, I'm going to live every day by day and just live life. And I'm like, honestly, I want to get to that point. I want to be happy. And I'm not saying that my life is horrible. I'm blessed. I can honestly say I am blessed by the grace of God. And it's just crazy to me that we allow And I do strongly believe that we do allow social media to get in the way of things, that we see the perfect image on social media, that we think our life is so bad. But I really think that is what the mechanism is. I was listening to another podcast as I was getting ready for work. Shout out to IE and Besties. They're a really great podcast, IE and Friends, such great podcast. And when they were talking about the subject that they were mentioning, someone had mentioned about alcohol. I believe it was an artist. I don't remember the name of the artist. I don't listen to her. But they were mentioning that this artist was talking about alcohol and how the system is ran. If you want to check it out, it's their second episode that was released just recently, or the third episode now, because they just uploaded one. But she was mentioning how alcohol was made to make people fall as alcoholism, like to become addicted to alcohol. So I feel like everything that is put out there for us as social media was made to make us feel down about ourselves. You know, whether you believe in a higher power or you don't, this world is ran by an agenda. And it's like, it's scary, but at the same time, it's like, once you figure that out, I'm not saying, oh, you become woke. No, I'm saying that you realize that your life is more precious than what it is that they make it seem. You have the power. You take that back. You take that control back. And I really do believe that once you tap into that, I'm not saying your life is going to get better instantly, but you will be able to, fight against those demons in your head, those voices in your head that tell you, no, you can't do it. No, you can't do this. Just me recording this episode is a leap of faith. And that's all it really takes, is just having a leap of faith in yourself to say, you know what, I am going to do this. Although you may see people around you doing maybe the same thing you want to do, or they're doing better than you, because you have that leap of faith, you're able to tap into what you want to do, and it gives that self-motivation to continue. Consistency is key. And I'm preaching to myself right now in the sense of, if you want to work out, do it. If you want to start a business, do it. The only one stopping you is yourself. Yeah, sure, your friend may be 10 leaps ahead of you, or this girl that you don't like is 40 leaps ahead of you. That's fine. At the end of the day, you do what you got to do in order to love yourself. There was one thing that I listened to from DJ Deoro. I was watching again another podcast. I live listening to podcasts, you guys. And I've honestly, once I got rid of TV out of my life and started, reaching out to listening to people, you find good advice. Just, you can watch TV, but just don't indulge yourself in it. Go out there, read a book, listen to people, have a conversation with someone. It's really good. Just don't sit there binge watching TV like how I used to. And so DJ Deoro was saying that when he was loving his wife, and he was realizing, I love my wife, and if I don't love myself, I'm not able to love my wife. And I was like, dang, that's crazy. That's exactly what I've been feeling, if I don't love myself, how am I going to pour out love onto others? And so that's the key. That's the factor there. So going back to the beginning of the topic was, yeah, it's a new year and a new you, but how about we change it rather than a new year, old me, or new year, different me? How about new year, disciplined me? Let's discipline our minds in the fact of, when a negative comment comes or a negative thought comes, we're disciplined enough to say, no, that's not me. No, that's no longer the route I'm going. And discipline and consistency is what's going to push us through. God spoke heavy on my heart that when it came to making changes in my life and doing something new, there has to be consistency. There has to be discipline. Although it's uncomfortable, although it's, very hard, that's the only way that you're going to have change. The old you is going to want to come back, and the old you is going to want to, keep you there. And even people that you surround yourself with, like I said, it's more than just physically, mentally. Now it's socially. people you surround yourself with, people that you have in your circle, if they're, not the best advice givers, if they are always like, oh, hey, you go up to them like, hey, I want to do this. And they're like, oh, yeah, you should do it. And you know for a fact, like, the voice in your head has been like, no, don't do that. But yet that friend is egging you on and doing it. Obviously, that person might not have your best interest at heart. Goes with relationships, co-workers, friends. Protect your space is basically all that I'm saying. And then spiritually, like I said, I don't know what you believe in. I believe in God. I've grown up Christian all my life, but it's more than just the religion part of it. It's the relationship. Going into, finding myself, I had to tap into a higher power. And Jesus is the way, the life for me, and until people, figure themselves out and figure it out, I have to proclaim that. And I have to say, honestly, once I gave my life to God, and literally was like, okay, what is it that I have to do in order to do this? It's not by works. It's not by how many people you preach to and how many people, you evangelize to. Like, that's great. That's what you have to do. But literally, when it comes to the whole spiritual side of it, just be a loving person. Just be someone that, humble, that you know for a fact that it's not because of you that things happen. Yes, hard work, dedication, consistency, discipline, that's what you have to do. But where does that strength come from to do that? You can honestly say like, oh, it was all me. Okay, good. Your ego, for sure. But there has to be something that you tap into in the sense of, what is going to keep me grounded? What is going to keep me humble? Read your Bible, read articles. I have a lot of family members that are probably going to be like, los estás desviando, you're stirring them to something other. I'm not here to tell you convert, but I'm here to tell you we need to walk humbly in order to tap into that higher power. And that higher power, if it doesn't have the best interest of you at heart, like I said, socially, spiritually go hand in hand. If that higher power is taking you to kill people, do things, then it's obviously might not be good, and maybe I'm speaking ignorantly, I don't know, but from what my own experience is, that's what I'm just speaking on. But as far as back to the self-love, I like to segue a lot. Back to the self-love, God really, he really spoke to me and was like, Jasenia, be consistent, be disciplined, and at the same time, do not announce your plans. Do not announce to anybody your strategies, your tactics, or, I'm not saying, keep it to yourself and do not share your tips and your tricks. No, do that, but in the process of building something, do not share like, hey, I want to go start this business, and you share it to someone that you know for a fact does not have good interest in your heart. Negative energy and negative vibes do exist. There are people that do not always have the best interest at heart. And if you come and you say, hey, I want to do this, that person is like, okay, well, not on my watch. And they start sending negative vibes. They start negative energy, and it's like, it does stop that. And also self-doubt for sure. I can honestly say that I've struggled with self-doubt in the sense of I do not believe in myself. And that's another thing. You have to speak positively to yourself, that you have to tell yourself you can do this. Although I may not have the ability now, the more I invest in myself, the more time I invest in myself, the more money I invest in myself, the more investment in whatever way that it be, like I said, financially, with your time, with your area of, wherever it is that you're going in life, invest. And so I had mentioned on my Instagram, you can follow it at Reinas Be Heard, Reinas, okay, gringa, Reinas Be Heard, and I put on there the link to the anonymous website where you can put questions, or you can put letters. You can also email me if you don't want it to go out there with your name. You don't have to. That's perfectly fine. But I do want you guys to reach out to me, kind of like an advice column. And I just want to like get to know my listeners, and then you guys get to know me on this journey of this podcast. This is just a little hobby that I have for myself, and I just want you guys, like I said, to feel comfortable in this safe space. And so I have the segment before I close out, because I do have to go back to work. Gotta go make that shmoney. But it's called Dear Senya, and I did get some questions in, and one of the questions was, do you pray? Yes, I do pray. I may not pray an hour, I may not pray 30, 45 minutes, 2 hours, but I do know that every single day, if I did not pray, I would not be standing. I would be a liar if I said I did this on my own strength. I did this on my own understanding. And if you guys want an episode on prayer, let me know. I will absolutely touch on that topic. I will touch on that subject. And it's pretty crazy because one of the questions, it coincide with the subject for today. And it was, how do you battle insecurities? And I honestly feel like this episode is your answer. You have to love yourself. You have to do for yourself. Do not compare, like how I did with self-love. Oh my gosh, comparison is like the killer of all. It's the root of all evil. Is like, what is this person doing? What is that person doing? Don't compare yourself. You're a unique person. I know that you probably heard this multiple times. Oh, there's only one you. And it's true. There is only one you. Why stress yourself about, oh, does this person like me? How about, do I like me? Am I okay with me? Like, definitely do that. Going back to how I had mentioned about me not loving myself is what affected my relationship with my husband. It did. I was always constantly comparing myself with other girls. Oh, I'm not skinny enough. Oh, I'm not. He's looking the other way. And then you push people to that, And I feel like, honestly, I can't say, mostly girls just go through it. I do strongly believe guys go through it too. And at the end of the day, if people are for you, they're going to be for you. But if you're for yourself, great, even better. It's a weird game, this game of life. And like I said, the number one happiness in this world is just that you're safe. I could just, it's just a really crazy subject, the game of life. And if you're going through something hard, if you're going through something difficult right now, there will be a light at the end of the tunnel. I can honestly tell you that. It is easier said than done, but if you hold on, keep pushing through, you're gonna be okay. I know that you may not feel like it right now, but eventually you're gonna see that light at the end of the tunnel. And reach out to people, reach out and be like, hey, I'm really going through this. Vulnerability, I can honestly tell you, you will see when you're vulnerable and like, hey, some people might think you're weird, but there might be like, one person or two people like, oh my God, this guy's weird, this girl's weird, she shares too much. And then there might be like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people that are like, you know what, I go through it too. Vulnerability honestly makes a room go, hey, I'm going through it too. And I'm really, really big on opening myself up and, talking to people and saying like, hey, I'm going through it too. You're not alone. And so I really feel like that's one of the things that would help with insecurity, is just talking about it and saying, I'm really struggling through this. Like, I really need help. And you got people like, I may not be in the same country as you, the same city as you, but like I said, you got people that, that's why we have these platforms. That's why we have these, outlets where we can reach out to people and be like, I got you, I know life is tough. I know life isn't easy, but you got this. Just the fact that you're breathing and living each and every day, you got it. And so that's my response to how to battle insecurity, is just get out of your head. You are beautiful. You are a beautiful person. Just because this person or that person doesn't think so, the fact that you're living, you are beautiful. Just remember that, girl and guy. You know, at the end of the day, we're only here for a short amount of time, and why stress about if this person likes me or not? You know, if it's because of your weight, it's because of, you know, certain things that, you know, you struggle with mentally, ask for help. You know, go to the gym. Honestly, the gym, for me, it was more than just losing weight now. It's more of like, how can I be stronger? And I feel like that's what projects it. And sometimes you may not see the results right away, but, you know, at least you were able to de-stress through the gym, and you were able to run it out, and you were able to do some sit-ups for it. You know, get that dopamine in your body, get that, you know, get that energy in your body, definitely. But like I said, this Dear Senya segment, I really, really, really wish you guys will reach out, because it does help with topics. I really do appreciate the question that said, I admire your strength. I appreciate that so much. I just share what I've overcome and what I've gone through, and I just really hope that as long as it touches just one person, I'm good, you know? And so I really do appreciate you're strong too, whoever it was that sent that message. And let's just keep going, Reinas and Reyes. Let's go, my kings and my queens. Let's keep pushing forward, keep pushing through. And this is the second episode. I know it's short, a little longer than the last one, but there's so much to self-love. I feel like every episode that will come, we'll tap into self-love again. And I really hope you guys have a great day. Keep killing it in whatever it is that you're doing. And like I said, don't forget to, you know, follow on Instagram. That's the only social media outlet that I have. But I do strongly request that you send messages if you have any questions. Share the podcast with people that you feel like can relate to this, so that way we can just grow a community of safe space. I love each and every one of you, and like I said, I hope you guys have a great day.